Hey, Battle Bill here with another video, and today we're getting some more Great League Go Battle League battles. Alright, so yesterday was the first day all the leagues came back. Had to dedicate it to my Season 1 and just, the staple of the channel, my double Mud Boy strat. And today we're going to bring back my Season 2 go-to team and see how it performs in Season 3 Great League. Now, this isn't the first time I've used this team in Season 3 Great League. Obviously, we had a whole 2-week session allotted to Great League earlier this season where I definitely dabbled with that team among others. But if you look back at my YouTube videos from that portion of the season, I did play around with a lot of spice. So now, keep in mind, today's team got me to the first page of the leaderboards, and I stayed there for quite a while during Season 2. And this team consists of Azumarill lead, sorry, just lost my train of thought. Azumarill lead, Vigoroth, and Ferrothorn. Now, couple things. The main one I'm going to talk about now, the other ones I'm going to talk about as we get into the battles. There have been adjustments and changes to the meta, and there was a huge move adjustment to Ferrothorn. Flash Cannon got debuffed. It having Flash Cannon played a major role in it last season for it to have success. Now it's running Thunder because of that nerf essentially to Flash Cannon. I called it debuff. I meant to say nerf, but you get what I'm getting at. Either way, let's see how it performs in Season 3 Great League. I'm excited to share these battles with you guys. We're going to definitely talk about its strengths and weaknesses and potentially if it can be used for continued success throughout the remainder of the season. One other thing before we jump into these battles, I talk about this a lot on my Twitch stream, but I don't know if I really mention it too much on YouTube. I'm a teacher and I teach in New York, and the school year is just starting up, and obviously that comes first. My kids, my students, they come first. They're my priority, and focusing on my career is my priority. I love putting out Pokemon Go content and whatnot, but I don't know with this school year how much of a toll that's making content is going to take on my teaching profession essentially, and if this becomes a bit of I don't want to call it a chore. Like I said, I enjoy these videos, but if I just start to lose time and don't have the time to put out videos, it's because, again, the school year started and I'm a teacher. So just keep that in mind if uploads seem to change from like every day or 5 days a week to maybe every other day, or if uploads just slow down completely. That's why I'm not trying to abandon the channel. I'm going to try my best to stick to consistent uploads, consistent Twitch streams, teaching to the best of my ability, and exercising. And those are some big goals I'm setting for myself to end 2020 and getting into 2021. But just in case uploads start to slow down, I wanted to give you guys the heads up. So without further ado, let's jump into these battles. Please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Alright, let's check out this set. So, even though I had a positive set with my double Mud Boys, in the last video, I did start to talk about how the meta has adjusted and they're not as viable. They still have a little bit of play, nowhere near as much as they used to. The question is my Season 2 team still viable with these Season 3 changes that have occurred? Now, getting into this first match, we have an Azu and Lapras lead. I immediately safe swap into Vigoroth because both of my Pokemon on the back counter Lapras, and because of the fact that I don't have Play Rough on Azu, that's just playing out a really slow matchup that I know I'm going to lose because most Laprases in Great League are running Skull Bash. So they bring in a Skarmory to essentially counter my Vigoroth, but they did take a second, and Vigoroth is extremely spammy, so I was able to generate some energy in that second they took the swap, and I'm just getting off these body slams left and right. These counters are dealing neutral damage to Skarmory, so my goal is even if I go to a 1 shield deficit, I'm going to commit to switch so I can try and line up my Ferrothorn on their Lapras. I'm going for another body slam here. I've already gotten to 3, just goes to show how spammy Vigoroth is. If you didn't already know that, you probably did. I got a shield there, which was even better because it makes me feel even more comfortable using a shield when they get to this Sky Attack here. So I'm going to throw this up, and we CMP tied essentially, so I got to my body slam. Oh yeah, it didn't completely register, and because of the way that happened, I was like, alright, you didn't want to register my charge move, I'll commit to a counter down, and it puts me in an even better spot because Vigoroth is now super loaded on energy. They bring in a Meganium, which is a solid counter to my team. I would need to put Ferrothorn on it, I can't put Azu on it, but because I got all that energy from countering down that Skarmory, this Meganium is nowhere near as scary as it could be. So I got a couple body slams off. They decided not to use a shield there. They cannot really commit to a Vine Whip down, which is why they swapped there, because they didn't want another body slam thrown at them. And because of that swap, I actually brought in my Ferrothorn to deal with this Lapras, because it's a much more straightforward matchup, and that Meganium, like I said, is very low on health. So the goal here is to just overpower this Lapras as much as I can, and Azu in the back can survive the Frenzy Plant that Meganium saved up, plus my Vigoroth has a Body Slam. It left with a Body Slam as I swapped it out. So I get off that Power Whip. They decide not to shield, but because I overfarmed, I can throw another Power Whip here, and the Meganium's so low, this is definitely going to threaten and get their last shield. So feeling all right here. At the time of playing this, I wasn't so sure how much energy Vigoroth had, so when my opponent gets this Earthquake off and takes out my Ferrothorn, I'm like, let's just be safe here. In case Vigoroth doesn't have the Body Slam, I don't want it to get Vine Whip down. Let's bring in Azu because it can tank a Frenzy Plant that it will definitely get to right here. The Meganium will not get to a second Frenzy Plant, and I will be able to get to the Ice Beam, take it out, and win this first match of the set. So far, so good. I technically wouldn't consider Azu on Lapras a positive lead, and I was still able to play out that match, or play out this match, and win it. Alright, getting into this next match, we're going up against Don. Let's see what the leads are going to be here. I have my Azu against their Azu. So the way I like to play this out, because Ferrothorn counters it, Vigoroth doesn't counter Azu but has a pretty neutral matchup against it, is I'll build up my Azu all the way to a Hydro Pump, and I'll hope they'll throw and they won't overfarm too much, because I want to see if their Azu is running Play Rough or not. So I'm not going to shield. I could definitely tank a Play Rough. It ends up being a Play Rough, so I definitely don't want to play out this matchup. Save Azu's energy, swap into Vigoroth, see what they decide to do to counter me, and they leave in their Azu, which I'm like, alright, I don't really mind that. Azu has energy, it could deal with a lot of things. Maybe that's telling me they have a Grass type in the back, it could definitely mean that. But if I could technically win Switch here, because they leave in their Azu and I play out the rest of the situation and Vigoroth beats their Azu, I could line up my Ferrothorn with any potential Grass types. That's what I'm just saying. So either way, I'm over farming here. They threw a Play Rough before, which is fine by me. It kind of tells me that they have Play Rough and Hydro Pump as a moveset on their Azu. I just landed a Body Slam there, and because of the fact that they have Play Rough and Hydro Pump, it takes them a little bit longer to get to those charge moves, which means now I can start threatening those shields. So I get another Body Slam off right here, gets a shield from their Azu. They're getting to a charge move here, and because I got that shield, I'm going to use another shield, because I know I can definitely outpace them to one more charge move. So it'll be up to them if they want to, 1, keep switch, and 2, use their second shields. I also overfarm a little bit, just in case they decide not to shield here. Vigoroth will be in a better position going forward. They don't shield, they let their Azu go down, which I'm totally fine with, and they bring in another Meganium. Starting to see quite a few Meganiums. Don't mind it with this team. Double Mud Boys might have been a little bit more worried about it. And because I overfarmed, I'm able to spam these Body Slams, and similar to the last match, this Meganium really can't farm me down, so they go immediately for the Frenzy Plant, which I'm totally cool with. And I'm going to have to now go into my Ferrothorn, since I don't have any shields. I definitely don't want to throw Azu at it. Oh, you know, I forgot that energy I had loaded up came in clutch. I wanted to bring in Azu really quick to throw an Ice Beam, threaten the shields, and I make a mistake here. Now I remember what I did. I should have just gone to Ferrothorn to be safe, or I should have just thrown the Ice Beam, but I didn't know how much energy they had, so I was greedy, and I thought I could get another Ice Beam off, and at that point, that was where I messed up this match. What I should have done there was not been greedy, try to go for the second Ice Beam. Should have did one more bubble, swapped, try to catch a Frenzy Plant on my Ferrothorn, and that would have had me in a pretty positive situation. Whereas now, not so much. My Power Whip and Bullet Seed didn't take down their Meganium. They're able to get to another Earthquake, and you see that does about 2/3 of my Ferrothorn, and then they bring in Galarian Stunfisk. Now, Ferrothorn doesn't typically have a terrible matchup against Galarian Stunfisk. It does neutral damage with the Power Whips, whereas Galarian Stunfisk deals neutral damage with the Earthquakes, and the Earthquakes do hit harder, take a little bit longer to charge up, but my Ferrothorn has no health to really play out this matchup, and that mistake definitely cost me. I should not have gotten greedy there. I should have known my situation better. And as always, it's important for me to learn from my mistakes. It's good for me to show it to you guys, because then you could also learn from it, and I like putting out the video because I get to rewatch and make sure I know what the right thing to do is next time. So, getting to this third match, I have another Azu on Azu lead. I'm going to try and play it out the same way as I did in the last match, but my opponent here seems to not want to throw their move, and I don't want to get to 100 energy and then essentially be wasting bubbles. So I just throw a Hydro Pump here. It lands. I mean, obviously Azus aren't shielding any of the first moves because nothing coming through is going to do a bunch to either of the Azus, and it turns out we're both running Hydro Pump. But at the same time, I still don't want to completely play out this situation. I feel comfortable getting this Azu low and then bringing in my Vigoroth to try and get some sort of energy advantage to essentially stress out whatever their back line is, and also potentially stress out this Azu. So they end up going for another charge move after I landed my Hydro Pump. This should be another Hydro Pump on their end. I'm not going to shield it. I have a little bit of energy, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to swap. Yep, I swapped right into Vigoroth, and now it's their move to see how they're going to be able to counter me. Because I swapped so fast, I got to that Body Slam super fast. Vigoroth so spammy. This will threaten a shield or take out the Azu. Got the shield. They still haven't counter swapped, so what this is kind of telling me, since their Azu is almost dead, is they're probably going to try and land another Hydro Pump here. Ends up being a Hydro Pump, so I'm happy I shielded it, and now they swap into an Umbreon, and what that also kind of tells me is that whatever they have in the back doesn't really want to see my Vigoroth, because Umbreon takes super effective damage from Vigoroth's counters, which means whatever they have in the back is probably also weak to counter. But at this point, I was like, you know, how greedy and how much do I really want to invest in Vigoroth? And hopefully I can just leave this situation positively. I don't know, in a positive energy or shielding way. I'm not wording myself well here, but I don't want to overcommit to Vigoroth is what I mean, even though what my logic here is that Vigoroth would still be valuable against their last Pokemon. So I do end up using that second shield there, and I overfarm a bit. I'm going to throw this Body Slam, and I'm going to get my question answered when I throw this Body Slam because they use another shield. And I was hoping I could counter down. Should have known I wasn't going to be able to. I had a feeling. Should have probably pulled a swap into Azu. But at that point, I didn't really want to get switch locked either, depending on whatever their last Pokemon was. So I bring in my Azu to farm down. And then we're going to see what they decide to bring in, whether it be their Azu, which should almost be dead also, and probably farmable, versus an Abomasnow. So that ends up being their other Pokemon, which is weak to Vigoroth's counters and not as tanky as Umbreon. So it explains why they brought in their Umbreon there in that situation. So now I have to bring in my Ferrothorn, and my Ferrothorn doesn't really like this matchup. I'm happy I got the Ice Beam off. That was nice, but the Weather Balls are spammy and they deal neutral damage. My Power Whips do a little bit more, but they take a little bit longer to get to, and they're dealing resisted damage. And now they get to another charge move here. Oh, well, not another. They get to their first charge move. Now they're getting to another charge move, their second one. And these are going to be back-to-back Weather Balls. There's no reason to throw an Energy Ball. And now I'm just worried that they'll pull a swap. But my opponent pulls a swap way too early, and I'm able to just farm down their Azu, and I'm going to get to this Power Whip and take the match. So this match ended up just being really key on if they could pull the swap, but I was also expecting it. I knew I would get to the Power Whip before they got to the Weather Ball, but again, had to watch out for that, pulled it off, and got the win. So far so good. The Season 2 team is looking just fine in Season 3. Not quite. The only real new Metamon of Season 3 that we saw here was Abomasnow, and we were in a very positive situation against that Abomasnow because it could really give 2/3 of my team a hard time outside of Vigoroth. Now, getting into this next match, we have an Azu on Deoxys lead, and Deoxys is a huge problem for this current team. Now, Azu is my best matchup against it. I would have obviously preferred if they weren't running Thunderbolt, but last season I wasn't seeing as many Defense Deoxyses. That's plural Defense Deoxys. Whereas this season I have been seeing a lot of them because it's a really good save swap. My opponent here is using it as a lead, which again works out a little bit better, but I still got to be careful dealing with it because the counters are going to deal super effective damage to my back line, and those Thunderbolts are really hurting my Azu here. So I had thrown the Hydro Pump before. They shielded it, unfortunately. I'm going for the Ice Beam bait because this could have been a Hydro Pump. They don't shield it, and now I'm a little frustrated. And I'm like, I don't want to take another Thunderbolt, so I swap into Ferrothorn because even though Ferrothorn's going to take super effective damage from the counters, all of Deoxys' charge moves will be resisted. So this was my next best option against it. They land the Rock Slide. We unfortunately see an MP tie there, so I'm not going to be able to overfarm anything. But then again, I really don't want to take any more counter damage. And then they let their Deoxys go down, and they have a shield advantage. Here's that Season 3 new Metamon that I was talking about that gives me a hard time. Abomasnow. And on top of it, because of the Flash Cannon nerf, as much as I was able to get that shield there, I'm not even running Flash Cannon on my Ferrothorn to really threaten this Abomasnow to do a lot of damage. So at least they get rid of their energy after I got their last shield. And now I'm going to bring in my main counter for it. So things are lining up all right. I did try to pull a swap there because I wanted to catch a Weather Ball on my Azu. Unfortunately, was not able to. and then my opponent decides to swap into their own Azu, and because of that defense Deoxys, my Azu does not have a lot of health to now deal with my opponent's Azu. I feel like I'm saying Azu a lot now. So I'm going to try and spam a couple body slams, and actually one body slam, and then I overfarmed, swapped, caught a charge move. This is going to end up being an Ice Beam, so really good play on my part. Now the question is, can I make up the setbacks of running into Defense Deoxys and Abomasnow? So I get to a Hydro Pump here. I'm hoping because they have Ice Beam on their Azu that they're also running Hydro Pump. It'll allow me to essentially get to another charge move in this mirror. This mirror takes a little while. We're throwing bubbles and whatnot. Both Pokemon are tanky. A lot of the damage is resisted. That's another Hydro Pump, so that's a positive thing for me. And I'm going to get to another Hydro Pump, but I was kind of debating throwing it because of the fact that now the Abomasnow can just come in and farm down my Azu. But I didn't have too much to work with there, because if I didn't throw it, then that Azu just would have bubbled down mine, and then it would have had energy to throw at my Vigoroth regardless. So I was not able to overcome that new Metamon and running into the Deoxys lead in this match, unfortunately. So currently 2-2 in the set. Getting into the fifth and final match of the set, we're going up against the Beebs Bro TTV. That's a great name. Honestly, just because of that name, I should go check them out on Twitch. But either way, we have a pretty old Metamon, a previous season Metamon in Registeel, and we have an Azu on Registeel lead here. And the way for Azu to win this out is I need to land the Hydro Pump. That is key. They're going to spam Flash Cannons at me. Flash Cannon was nerfed, like I mentioned, which is why Ferrothorn's not running it anymore. I always mix up what the nerf is. I think it requires a little bit more energy, not that it does less damage. I think it requires a little bit more energy, whereas Focus Blast does less damage. Both of Registeel's moves were nerfed though, essentially, which is why it has appeared a little bit less in Great League this season. So they're going for another Flash Cannon. I was able to luckily get my Hydro Pump off. So the way I'm going to actually play this out is I'm going to overfarm a bit, and I'm going to actually throw the Ice Beam. This is not going to take out the Registeel, but where its current energy is at, if they let this go through, which they did, I'll be able to bubble them down and actually take and win the no shield situation here. Unfortunately though, now my Azu is in farm range, and here's another Season 3 new Metamon that gives my entire backline a hard time, and it's probably the one positive that I have Thunder on Ferrothorn, because it's going to be my only move that can hurt this Drifloon. My only move that can hurt this Drifloon. So they're spamming some Icy Winds here. Honestly, I go straight for the Thunder, and I should have known better considering it. Drifloon storing Icy Winds. It's aiming to debuff me as much as possible before taking any damage. I should have known that was going to get shielded the way it did. So that was a bit of a misplay on my part, but I'm really not sitting in a good spot because Ferrothorn's Bullet Seeds are resisted, its Power Whip is resisted. Luckily, Thunder will deal super effective damage, but if I brought in Vigoroth, like I'm actually about to because I wanted it to eat a charge move, since Ferrothorn seems like my only real option here, landing that Thunder, I end up shielding because I need to keep Ferrothorn alive. Now I'm going to swap in Vigoroth, and I'm hoping it'll kind of force a swap in my opponent's hands. I mean, like, I'm kind of hoping that because I swapped, they'll swap, because all of Vigoroth's moves are like at least double resisted, if not triple resisted by Drifloon, and my opponent decides to swap after the fact. So they got that Icy Wind through, and they swapped into their Azu. I'm like, you know what, that's fine. Because honestly, if they didn't do that, they probably could have just left in Drifloon and completely finished off both of my Mons. Because Vigoroth literally can't hurt it. So because of that, though, I'm going to spam as many Body Slams. These are debuffed, though, because of the Icy Wind that they threw before dipping. So they're going to do a little bit less damage. I have no intention of committing to my Vigoroth here, so I let that Ice Beam go through. I'm going to get off another Body Slam here, and this is not going to get their last shield, but I need to get their last shield if I want any chance of winning this match. So I swap into my Ferrothorn. I don't want them to bubble down my Vigoroth. I know their switch timer isn't up because of the fact that their Drifloon had stayed in a little while after I swapped, and I do get their shield. That was also a mistake on their end. They shouldn't have committed that shield, because what's going to end up happening here is pretty huge. They throw the Ice Beam, their switch timer is just about up. The Drifloon comes in right into this Thunder. They could not have thrown their Pokemon in a more perfect situation. The Thunder one-shots a Drifloon, and I have residual energy, so I'm able to get to this Power Whip before they could even bubble me down, and I end up winning this match, but I really shouldn't have. I really think if they just left in Drifloon against my Vigoroth there, it probably could have taken out both of my remaining Pokemon, and that would have been GG for me, even though obviously they don't want Azu on my Ferrothorn, but I somehow maneuvered my way into that win and clinched a positive set. So now, I clinched positive set. That means my Season 2 team definitely works in Season 3, right? Not quite. So, that required a lot of maneuvering. The backline is really weak to counter users or fighters. And another extremely popular Season 3 Metamon is Shadow Machamp, which I was luckily able to avoid in this set and the couple sets I used it after. But there are just a lot of changes to this meta that hinder this team also. So it's really looking like my two old teams just don't have as much play anymore. So I gotta find my staple Season 3 team for Great League before this portion of the season's over, and then we enter Season 4. Because I don't really see Season 4 changing up too much. There were the buffs to the some bug moves or some bug move changes, and then one random fire move got a bit of a buff. But I don't really see that having too much of an effect on the Great League meta. I could be wrong. Maybe it makes Galvantula and Vespiquen OP. Maybe. I wouldn't mind. I love Galvantula. But now I gotta digress. Either way, Defense Deoxys has also gotten a little bit more popular in this Season 3 meta, so that gives the entire team a hard time. And then, again, counter users in the back. Toxicroak would give a hard time because Sludge Bomb on Azu counters in the back. So, as much as this team got me on first page leaderboard in Season 2, I don't recommend it because of some of its weaknesses it had on top of the new Metamons that are around that just add on to that weakness. So I hope you at least enjoyed the battles. I'm going to be working on a new team and trying out some spice. Also, guys, if you want me to shoutcast your sets, please, the link to my Google Drive is in the description. Go and check that out. I don't care if it's Great League, Ultra League, or Master League at this point in the season. Submit whatever you'd like, and I would love to go over those battles. Other than that, please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you all in the next video.